hereby summon all my imps. Hey everybody, it's Annabelle. Today we're going to talk about the last little piece of everything that came out with the core set coming out, which is going to be the card review. Give me 1 second, hang on, my screen's being weird. Let's try that again. Okay, so these are the definite cards that were revealed so far. We're going to do this in 2 different sections. And for anybody who's never seen me do a card reveal for, I do them in a mode that's known as the Josh Dryhaves method, which means they don't get a star rating from me. They're just how I feel about the card. We're going to talk about the ones that came out for Death Knight. We're going to start off with the very top here. And we're going to start off with this one here. This is Army of the Dead. Army of the Dead is a 5 mana, 2 unholy. So now I have to actually put that in here. Shadow spell card that says raise 5 corpses as 2/2 risen ghouls with rush. So this is going to deplete your raised ghoul graveyard. So your graveyard that's getting bodies put into it is going to be depleted up to 5 ghouls. There is not a choice for you to do this or not do this. If you have 5 ghouls, you will raise 5 ghouls. If you have 5 corpses in your graveyard, you will raise 5 2/2s with rush. Risen corpses, or anything that says risen on it, when they die again, they do not go back to your graveyard. That is incredibly important to know about these cards. A lot of these cards are going to take a lot of time for me to explain. This card costs 5 mana, and at the most is going to give you 10/10 in stats with rush. If you have 5 bodies in your graveyard, and you're willing to dedicate 2 slots to Unholy. And that's what we're going to have to look at on every single one of these cards, is how much runes they take off of you. Because by using this, you're pretty much dedicating yourself to the Unholy package. You can swing in 1 more rune of either Blood or Frost. But that's it. And then if you do Blood or Frost, you can't play anything that's 3 Unholy. If you have no corpses in your graveyard, I'm not sure you're allowed to play this. It might give you that, don't play this card thing that happens every once in a while when you can't play a card because there's no trigger for it. But if it lets you play this with no corpses, you'll bring out 0 cards and you'll waste 5 mana. You have a chance of bringing out 1 2/2. So if you grab this and for whatever reason you have no corpses in your graveyard, this is a 5 mana summon a 2/2 refresh, which is horrible. This starts to become useful at the very beginning of 3. You need at least 3 corpses in your graveyard for this to even be semi-playable. And if the problem is if you have 3 or if you have 23, it doesn't really matter. Because if you have anything more than 3, you'll raise more than 3. If you have 4, you'll raise 4. If you have 5, you'll have raise 5. Once you hit 5, it won't raise anymore. But there's no way to say, hey, I just want to raise 3, or hey, I just want to raise 4. It's either you can or you can't. It'll look at your graveyard, raise a corpse. If you can raise another corpse, it'll do that until you get to 5. It's a very unique card because it's the first one that we've ever seen for Death Knights. But it's a lot of commitment for something that might work on a 5 mana. Yep. Next card we're going to look at is Battle Fiend Necromancer. Battle Fiend Necromancer is a 2 mana, 2 undead Death Knight card with 2 attack, 3 defense. That at the end of your turn you raise a corpse that is a 2/1 Risen Footman with taunt. Now, the important thing to know about this particular one is, it's going real good. We're just talking about the new set, and we're going through card reveals. And I'm trying to discuss them and how my brain works. Now, what's important about this is you need to have a corpse in your graveyard, which you might not have on turn 2. And the corpse that you raise is going to be a risen guard. A risen footman. So when that risen footman dies again, he does not go back to your graveyard. So this is not an infinite 1/2 every single turn. You do not get a 1/2 every single turn unless you're killing something else besides the Risen Footman on your side. Your opponent's stuff does not matter. This is kind of what he looks like. And CCC does not leave a corpse. So any of these cards that say does not leave a corpse means that it does not put a card back into your hand, into your graveyard. Okay, the next one that we're going to talk about is going to be Defrost. Defrost is a 2 mana, 1 frost Death Knight spell that says draw a card, spend 2 corpses to draw another. It's a general use 2 mana draw card that has a slight upside on it. Early game, it's going to be hard to have 2 corpses maybe dead on turn 2, so you're just going to draw 1. But there's going to be a lot of times you're okay wasting 2 corpses to draw 2 cards. 2 corpses isn't going to be the worst thing to get. I'm going to give this a general card with a slight upside. For this one, I'm going to put this one at, because I forgot to actually give this a review, I'm going to give this a, you're really committing for something that might not work. And for this one, I'm going to give this a, you think it's really good until you realize that it's not infinite. Okay, the next one that we're going to talk about at this particular point, they are sweet. They look sweet, but you have to look at them from an analytical point. And I'm not trying to give them a rating, because if I give this like a 3 out of 5, I'm not even saying this is a 3 out of 5. That puts an idea into everybody's head. So I'm just going to discuss them as how I see them. This is a no muncher. This is a 6 mana, 5/6, 1 blunt card. the one blend means that you can basically almost slot it into any single deck if you're not running triple of anything. This does, at the end of the turn, it attacks your lowest health enemy. That's a minion on the board, or if there's no minions on the board, it deals 5 to face. There's a lot of times where this is going to come down on 6 if the board is clear and give you 5 quick health. This is going to have taunt so that your opponent's going to have to walk past it. It's a little weirdly statted. It's almost Yeti stats to a certain degree. It's Yeti stats +1 for everything. But it can slot into a lot of things. And getting that 5 health is going to be interesting. It's going to be useful. And this happens every single turn. So if for whatever reason you can lock down your opponent for a turn or two, you're gaining 10 health, you're gaining 15 health because you lock down your opponent for one turn. Let's just say this comes down and somehow you're also able to lock out your opponent for just one turn. They can't do anything for a turn. This dealt 5. Let's say the board was empty. This deals 5. The next turn this deals another 5 by hitting and another 5 at the end of the turn. So you gain 15 health off of this in 2 turns if they can't deal with it. That is a scary card. So this is going to be a great health gainer, but it's a little slow on the mana. Okay. That's what we're going to talk about. Is Graveyard Shift. Graveyard Shift summons. Graveyard Shift is a 3 mana, 1 undead Death Knight card. And what this one does is it summons 2 1/1 zombies with Reborn. And the most important thing to know about the undead zombies, or at least the rest of the Reborn zombies, they leave corpses. Both the original leaves a corpse, and the Reborn leaves a corpse. So it technically died, and then it puts the second one out then when it dies. So this is putting 4 bodies into your graveyard that are both 1/1 that then have to die again for 1/1s. For people who don't remember how nasty Reborn is, you have to kill it, and then you have to kill it again. So it's basically taking 2 trades for 1. On the defensive side. On the aggressive side, it's not that great. Because even if you have a 10-10, when it dies, the Reborn brings it back as a 10-1, so somebody can ping off that last 1 really easily. But this is a way to put minions on your board, and this is also a way to put minions in your graveyard. This is 4 minions on your board, this is 4 minions on your graveyard. For 1 green, that's, not the best, that's not the worst in the world. And for cost-wise, 2 mana for 3, 2 minions for 3 is right about the correct cost. So I'm giving this a utility card that's more useful than you give it credit for. Okay. Next one up for us is Lord Marrowguard. Lord Marrowguard is an 8 mana, legendary, 3 unholy Death Knight card. The fact that I have to preface all that before I even talk about this card is interesting. It's 8 mana, 9/7, rise all of your corpses as 1/1 risen golems with rush. For each one they can't fit, they get +2/+2. So it's kind of the same thing as Frost Lich Kalkazah, where if they couldn't fit the corpses on, the corpses just exploded. This one is almost bait. And I'll tell you why this is almost bait. You need to play all unholy. So you're locking yourself up into unholy. If you do this, you play this, you can't play any blood, you can't play any frost. You can only play unholy. Your entire deck has to be unholy, otherwise you can't play this unless you find this off of Discover. Just so that everybody understands, if you get one of these cards, if you steal one of these cards, if you get one of these cards in some other way, shape, or form, you get to play them. The deck, the rune restriction is only during deck building. That's the only time that the rune restriction works. This is coming down on turn 8. Turn 8 has to be a bomb if you're playing a turn 8. It has to be ridiculous. It has to be unfair. It has to be one of the most important things. You're getting. Let's assume that you have that you're dropping this on an empty board. So you have nothing on the board, and you're dropping this on an empty board. You need 6 other corpses for this just to trigger once. And if you have 7 corpses in your graveyard, that means you get 5 1/1s, and you get 1 3/3. It's not that you ended up with all the rest being 3/3s at that point. You only get one of them for each additional corpse. So, it's a lot to put down. Now, at this point in the game, you may have some of the, you may have like 15, 16 things in your graveyard. But the thing is, if you play this down, because they just have rush and not charge, this card is basically doing nothing on your turn except doing a board clear. This is a very expensive, very weird board clear. And the most important thing to know is that the minions that you get off of this, the 1/1, are risen. So when they die, they do not go back to your graveyard. They have been risen. So you're basically removing bodies from your graveyard that you can't get back. So if you rush all these in, it's not that you're rushing them in and then getting them right back in your graveyard. To get a board of 3/3s, assuming that your board is completely empty, you need 12 minions in your graveyard, and that means you lost 12 minions in your graveyard. You lost 12 minions throughout the battle, and those 12 minions won't come back to your graveyard, and that's just for a 3/3 rush at that point, which if you have nothing to rush against, if both sides of the board are empty, it's very easy for your opponent just to take that down in one turn. So I will give this a be very careful if you think these minions are going to come back. Next one up for us is going to be the Obliterate, which is the same exact card that you can see in the game right now. If you ever do a Death Knight card, it's one of your options for Death Knight cards, at the Obliterate. It's 2 mana, 1 blood. Destroy a minion, your hero takes damage equal to its health. It's a good card. It's not the best card in the world. It's a kill card. I almost wish this didn't have a blood gem to it at all, or any gem to it. I feel that this card didn't need to be blood. But it's interesting that this is blood. If you got a slot open in blood, this is going to be good removal. It's cheap removal. It's kill with condition. For 2 mana, that's where you need it to be. It's kill with condition. Not much to discuss about that one. It's just a generally good card out of you're going to see it played. Next up is Overseer Frigstar, which is a 6 mana, 2 frost legendary minion. Draw 2 spells from your deck. If they are both frost spells, deal 2 damage to all enemies. That's both enemy minions and the enemy hero. If you are going this deep into frost, the chances are you're playing a complete frost deck. You get to, it's tutor for 6. It's not bad cost for 6. And if you are going this deep into frost, that means probably all your spells are frost. And if so, that's basically a consecration. And even if you don't get the consecration off of this is draw 2. So it's a 6 mana, almost 6/6 that draws you 2. That and alone is just not bad. So I'm going to give this a good draw with a good upside. Next one that we're going to talk about is Patchwork. Patchwork is a 7 mana, 4/6 legendary 1 blood Death Knight card. The fact that all these asterisks is on this is amazing. Okay, so for this particular one, when this comes out, it's Battle Cry. Destroy a random enemy minion in your opponent's hand, deck, and battlefield. This is going to be replacing your Mutanis if you were ever playing Mutanis. If you ever thought that you might throw Mutanis into a Death Knight deck, this is going to be your Mutanis to try out. If you can fit 1 blood into your deck for whatever reason, this is a ridiculous 7-drop. Destroying 3 cards, one on the field, 1 in hand, and 1 in deck for 7 is just ridiculous. You almost don't care what the stats are. You're using this as removal. This is disruption on a big stick. I'm giving this a, if you're playing blood, you're sticking this in. I don't care. Last one for us is one of the Celical Sidekicks, which is going to just be a general neutral card on this. For Death Knights. It's still for Death Knights, so it's not technically neutral, but it has no gems. So there are going to be no gem cards. But it has Battle Cry, give a friendly undead minion +2 attack. This is just a general teaching you how undead works. So, nice starter deck. If you're running Death Knights and you just need some filler, you're running out of cards. It's a nice body. Oh yeah, there's a lot of strong cards in here, but you gotta balance them out by what is being using for the runes, because you only get to use 3 runes, and if you use 1 rune, you can't use 3 frost runes, so you have to balance it out. So you can't play all these cards together. There's no place at which you're playing all 3 of these cards in the same deck. Like you can't play 3 blood. You can't play 1 frost, 2 blood, and 2 unholy because you only have 3 gem slots. And that's what's going to keep this from being ridiculous. They know for a fact that unless you get something really weird, there's never an instance where you're getting to play Army of the Dead and Overseer. And the thing that has to be balanced with that going in the future, and part of the problem with Death Knights going in the future, is when you get those 10 cards in the set, how many of them are going to be for blood? How many of them are going to be for frost? How many of them are going to be for unholy? How many of them are going to be neutral? How many, at some point, are you going to have a card that's, say, 2 blood and 1 unholy? Or a card that's 1 unholy and 2 frost? Are you going to have a card that you put into Death Knights at some point that's 1 blood, 1 frost, and 1 unholy? That's a legendary card that just says, hey, it does ridiculous, but you have to really limit how your deck ran. I mean, that's stuff that we're all going to have to see down the road with these cards. Let me see if they got anything up here. What is it called? If not, we'll just end it here on the discussions. So when it comes to card reviews, I'm going to use the Hearthstone top decks to go with what we have. When 10 come out, I'll be doing a review. Whenever 10 come out, I'll be doing them 10 at a time. I feel that's a good way to discuss these and not have too much that's talking about. Today's a little bit different because when the set comes out, there's a lot to discuss. So it's a little bit more to discuss when the set actually comes out. That doesn't get discussed on normal patch days, because anything more than 10 minutes starts getting into too long of a video, and you kind of get, some of these people get lost in the review. So I'm going to do another review here on everything else that was not the Death Knight cards, which we'll do in just a second here. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, remember, play for fun.